Hey everyone, and welcome to another devlog video for the NPC Manager system. Today I wanted to give you guys a quick overview on the NPC to NPC dynamic conversation system. If you saw the last video, you pretty much have seen it already, but today I had a bit of time to actually give you guys more detail, and I've actually added voice code to it. So now the NPCs actually say their lines. So it actually feels a lot more complete now, and I've corrected some bugs. So if you didn't see the video last time, this is basically a system that allows two NPCs that run into each other in the world under certain conditions to spark a random dynamic dialogue. Very much similar to games from Bethesda like Oblivion and Skyrim. It's more like Oblivion because it's supposed to be dynamic. It's pretty funny. It's been a lot of fun to work on this, and I'm actually pretty happy where it is right now. So let's just take a quick look at how I've decided to design this system. I looked everywhere online for any documentation or tutorials or anything that would help me understand how Oblivion actually does it, but I actually didn't find anything. So I basically designed the system from scratch, thinking about what would be a good way of having this dialogue system. So if you guys have any ideas or suggestions, please do let me know as we're going through this. I'll be monitoring the comments or obviously Discord as well. So the first thing I did is I want to make sure that the dialogue system is flexible. So everything is derived from a specific data table, and you can see the data table here. And the cool thing about data tables is that you can actually import a CSV file from Excel. And if you do it with the exact same name as your data table and the exact same structure, Unreal will automatically update the data table. So what I actually have is a Google Docs that has all of this exact information. It's super easy for me to add all new dialogue, and then I can just upload it here into Unreal and everything gets automatically updated. But here's basically the idea. You're going to have every single row is a line of dialogue. And you're going to have an ID that's going to be a unique ID for that line. You're going to have a category and a subcategory. And these, as you can see, if I'm selecting, these are basically text fields, right? So you can define as many categories as you want. And these are going to be matched up on the NPC as well. The NPCs are going to have a list of all of the allowed categories that they can use from this data table. So you can get really creative. You can create categories. Like in this case, I did like Whiterun, subcategory Jarl, or subcategory Tornado. So you could have certain dialogue that would be reserved after a certain world event happens. Maybe you can, after a tornado or something happens in that town, you can make these lines available to the NPCs, and that makes it more dynamic. But basically, you have a category, a subcategory, and then you have three different types of dialogue. You have an initial, you have a respond, and you have a follow-up, which you can see a category right here. Initial and response is basically what it sounds like. It'll pick a random initial line from the same category and subcategory. So if you're having a conversation, it'll look through and say, okay, I'm going to do a generic greeting, and I'm going to initiate, because I'm the NPC that initiates, pick a random line from these three because they're all the same subcategory and the same type. And it'll go like, hey, how goes it? You specify a duration, and then you have active animations and passive animations. And active animations are the animations that will play when the NPC is saying the line. And the passive animations are what animations another NPC that is listening to this line will play, right? So you can get really detailed. Every single line of dialogue, you could potentially have a specific active animation and a passive animation for every single line. Or like you see here, I have a list of animations, and if you do that, like in this case, active, you have like talking 1, 2, 3 and thinking. And passive, I have like idle, basically. Several different idle animations. And that's the standard that comes for anything, but you can obviously change that. So that's kind of the idea. If you have audio, like in this case, I have audio. I recorded myself for some of these for testing, and you guys are going to hear it in a second. You can then add as many audio clips for this line as you want. And the way I've done it is basically, if you open it here, every voice clip has a voice ID and the actual audio clip. And further, you can have some specific animations that go with this audio clip. And the reason for that is because if there is no audio clip found, then you'll just use the standard active animations. But if there is an audio clip found, then you'll specify the ones that you really want to play with that audio. So it sounds a little convoluted, but it makes sense. The voice ID is basically a way to filter through different voices. Say you have many different voice actors, and you want to have the line said by different actors, right? The same line may be said by different actors, and the way you distinguish them is by giving them an ID. So like male 01 versus male 02. So if I go, for example, for male 01, let's just play it real quick. It'll be this one.
How goes it?
That's me. And if you go here to male 02, it sounds like this.
How goes it?
Which is still me, but with a higher pitch. So I had to get creative. So I basically took the exact same lines that I recorded and I changed the pitch just to make the voice sound a little bit different. But the whole point is for testing purposes. Obviously, if you're making this for real, you hopefully have a voice actor that you're paying, or you're gonna record it yourself, or buy voices from from a marketplace or something that's gonna actually sound legit. But you have a voice ID for each individual clip, or you could have more than one clip with the same voice ID, and it'll be exactly the same thing. Like in this case, How's Everything? You have two voice clips with male 1, and these are going to be two takes of the same line. And again, the whole point is to give you as much flexibility as possible. Even with the same actor, with the same voice, you still want to have some different takes of the same line, so it doesn't sound exactly the same every single time. All right, and the reason for that is because the NPCs are going to pick random lines every single time, and once they pick a random line, and then they'll pick a random audio clip with the same voice ID, and then they'll say it. So let's go here and actually see what that looks like. So if I select Bob here, and I go down to the component here, I think you guys saw that last time, but I'm going to show it again. There is going to be a social options struct, and if I open here, you'll see that there are several options. Can be social, obviously self-explanatory. If you want an NPC to never have these conversations, you can just untick this. If you want it to be social, you can give it a % chance to start an interaction. So what happens is when the NPCs get close to each other, in this case, I made the trigger super big, so they actually talk to each other very frequently because I'm testing. Normally this would be a lot smaller, so it's not going to happen as much. But if two NPCs get close to each other, the first person to detect another NPC, if it can be social, it will try to initiate a conversation, and this is the % chance. So 80% chance to initiate is pretty high. Then you have the allowed dialogue, and these are the categories that are going to be pulled from this data table right here, and you can see that the categories are here. Notice that greetings and goodbyes are not here. Those are always available by default. These are going to be additional categories. So in this case, this NPC has all the greetings and all the goodbyes, but it also has the category family and generic. So if I go back here and I say, okay, well, what are those categories? They're going to be right here, family and generic. So it has access to all of these lines. And notice that I say that the voice ID is male 01, because I'm basically saying Bob is going to use the voice of the male 01 actor, while Todd here is still going to have the exact same category so they can speak to each other, but Todd is going to have male 02, which is the squeaky voice where the pitch is higher. So again, they can still have a conversation and say the same thing, but they have different voices. So obviously for a female, which would be great to have for testing, then you would create a different voice ID. You would have the same lines, you would put them on the data table, and then the females would use any other voice. And then finally, the interaction cooldown here is after an interaction is finished, how many seconds until the NPC can interact again. You probably don't want the NPC talking back to back to back. There's always a chance that maybe another NPC is coming right as one and is finishing talking, and then he's going to initiate another conversation. So this is basically a make sure that the NPCs have a breather, right? That they're not talking nonstop, because obviously that doesn't look good. And the way I'm doing it here is, if you know how it's done in Oblivion is, if you get close to the NPCs when they're talking, there's going to be like the subtitles will be displayed, and you can actually hear the conversation. And you're going to see that when I hit play here. That's basically the same thing that I'm doing right now. Is I have an actual blueprint that I spawn that has a radius. This is the blueprint that spawns. And you can see here, it literally is just an actor that's going to be spawning between the NPCs. It has a trigger radius, and by default, I have 350. But you can make this smaller or bigger. And then it has an audio component. And this is going to be the audio component that's going to play the lines from the NPCs. The reason I have it as an audio component is because I want to have the ability to interrupt the dialogue later. I am thinking of adding like a player to NPC system, kind of like, again, RPGs. So if they're talking and you as a player go in and you interact with an NPC, you want them to pretty much shut up and talk to you, right? So you kind of need an audio source so you can actually stop it. And also you have concurrency settings, you can see here. And those are going to control the fade off, basically not concurrency, attenuation. And that's basically how far can you actually hear the NPCs talk, and the fall off distance and the inner radius, right? So in this case, I'm saying that from that source, there's going to be a sphere. And if you want to hear the volume full volume, you have to be within 50 units of the source. And then it'll slowly fade out until you can't hear it anymore after 1500 units. And I did it that way because I tested it with like 3000. It doesn't feel good when you're really far away from the NPC and you can still hear the NPC talk. So you kind of have to play with these values here. So yeah, enough talking. Let me just go ahead and hit play. And like I said, you know, both of these are going to be talking about family and generic, and each one has a different voice ID. And yeah, so let's go ahead and click play and see what happens.
How's everything?
I've been better.
How is everyone?
They're all doing fine.
Good to hear. Bye then.
Let me allow them to do one more so you guys can see the other, hopefully.
Doing great.
How's everyone?
Son got the flu last week.
I am sorry to hear. I hope he gets better soon.
Goodbye.
Be seeing you.
There you go. It's super cringy, I know, and it feels so weird to hear yourself talk to yourself, which is why I changed one of the voices so it sounds a little bit more natural. But I was testing with the exact same voice, and it's super weird. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The whole point of the system is this: how you can actually add as much dialogue as you want, and how you can easily change the topic. If you guys saw in that video at the end, just for fun, I have a special funny topic called Todd Howard, and it just spews memes. I'm creating a new form of AI called Radiant AI. Really, how does it work? And then he responds with, it just works, right? And you'll notice that these are follow-ups. So you can be very specific. If you want a specific response for a line, you can just say, this is going to have a follow-up. For example, this one, I invented a new form of AI. It's called Radiant AI. There's a follow-up ID, and you're going to put the ID that's right here. And in this case, it says 26. So 26 would be this. So the system will say, okay, after an NPC says this, the other one needs to respond with ID 26, which is going to be this one. This one says, hey, you need to respond with 27, which means it's this one. and -1 means there is no follow-up, so then it just go by like normal. So yeah, with this system, again, it'll have a random greeting, a random middle topic, and a random goodbye. And each individual line can have as many different voice actors and as many different takes per voice actor. And obviously, if you don't have any voice, it'll just display the text. And it'll do it just like Oblivion. It's going to be based on proximity, and the same thing is going to happen for the voice. So that's pretty much it, guys. It's taken me 4 days, more or less, to work out something similar to what Oblivion is doing. It's been a lot of fun trying to get this going. It was a lot more complicated than I thought to try to coordinate that exchange, because there's so many things that timing can be tricky. But I'm actually pretty happy with the way it turned out. So yeah, by the way, somebody posted a meme video of Oblivion NPCs on the Discord just for fun. I saw it, I laughed, and I realized, you know what, that actually sounds like a really funny but interesting feature for the project. So that's a lot of times how things get added, funny enough. So if you have any ideas, please do post your comments below, or if you're not part of the Discord, join our Discord. We're talking all the time. I'm pretty active there, and I get a lot of cool ideas from the community members there, including this one. So yeah, what else do you guys want to see in this system? I've only been working on this for like 3 weeks, and I feel like I have a lot already. If you have any ideas, how would you use this in your game? Any other cool things, please do let me know. And yeah, thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next video.